wanted to.
Okay, so I want to let you guys know we're recording this and I'm going to hand it off to Beth.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I want to make sure that everybody feels free to ask questions at any time. This meeting is really designed to give you information about the upcoming championship season and make sure all your questions are answered. So throughout the presentation, I'm going to pause at various times and ask if they have questions, if anybody has questions. If you do have questions, just feel free to unmute yourself and you can ask the question that way. You can also, under reactions, raise your hand to ask a question. And that way I'll know that you have something that you want to say. There is the chat function, but I think given that we don't have that many people participating today, I don't see any need to use the chat function. I think it'll be a lot easier if you just ask your question and then we can respond to it. And I hope that you do ask questions because we welcome your ideas and your input. One of the things I just wanted to say is that this is the first captain's meeting that we've had since the pandemic. Our last meeting was in January of 2020. And I don't know about the rest of you, but during the pandemic, tennis was a lifesaver for me. It was so important for me to get out there and play. And at first we were playing on the outdoor courts, on the public courts, mostly in Shelburne for those of us here in the Burlington area. And then we gradually moved indoors playing with masks and then eventually without masks. And we were able to, Leslie was able to run the 65 and over once the Vermont restrictions got lifted. And then we had tri-level last fall. But this is the first time in 2 years that we're doing league play. So we're trying to build back the league play as many teams as we used to have, but obviously some players are a little reluctant still with COVID still being an issue. So I'm hoping that with your help, with all the captains working together with me, we can down the road have as many teams as we used to have and have truly a statewide league. So today, what we're going to do is I'm going to cover some of the new information about the 2022 championship year. And then I'm also going to share a couple of websites with you where you can access information that's relevant to the league play. When I finish doing that, then Christy Bennett, who's the USTA New England director of the USTA leagues, is going to talk to us about information about the districts and the sectional championships. And then Joanna Beal, who is the president of USTA Vermont, will fill us in on what her group does and how they are working to grow tennis throughout Vermont. And she's also going to share with us some information from the website that her organization keeps up to date and share with us the newsletter that they put out. And then we're going to have Tammy Azer, who's a tennis pro with the Edge at Essex, going to give us an update about the State League Committee. Tammy is the chairperson of that committee. And then we'll have another opportunity for any questions and answers that you may have. And then we'll call it a day. So without further ado, we'll go get into some of the information. So the first thing I wanted to emphasize is how appreciative I am and the USTA is for all the hard work and effort that the captains put into the league. We could not have these league competitions without the captains and the co-captains. And I've been a captain for many years. I know sometimes how challenging it can be and how, especially when something unexpected happens, it can really be difficult to work your way through it. And I just want to say, having been a captain, I hope you will feel free to reach out to me at any time with any questions, or if there's anything you think I can do to help you out. I'm more than happy to be a resource and do whatever I can to make things easier for you, because really without your hard work and dedication, the leagues would not run. In recognition of that and all the work that you do, USTA New England is going to have a Captain Appreciation Month. This will be the first time, I believe, that we're having this recognition, and that will be in June of 2022. So as the events and the schedule gets going for that, I will keep you posted and let you know if there's anything that will be happening that you can participate in. Also, as most of you know, we generally try to have the captain's meeting in Vermont in person. We feel like it's a great opportunity for everybody to see each other and get to know each other better. But this year with COVID, we decided to do it over Zoom. So in lieu of meeting together face-to-face for the captain's meeting, we anticipate hosting a captain's outdoor event sometime during the late summer, kind of after the league seasons are pretty much done, but before we get into the fall and school and all of that. So I will definitely keep you posted about that as we plan that event. And I just want to wish all of you who are captaining this year best of luck with your teams, and I hope you have a fantastic championship year. One of the things I also want to emphasize is how much we all appreciated the hard work and dedication of Leslie Nichols. She has been the local league coordinator for many years now and has done a tremendous job. So she stepped down from that position at the end of December of 2021. And I started as the league coordinator in January of 2022. So I hope that all of you will bear with me as I learn the ins and outs of this role. I have retired from my job, so I am very committed to spending the time serving as the league coordinator. I want to have an open line of communication. If any of you have any questions or want information, or if there's anything I can do to be of help, feel free to either email me at the same address that Leslie used as league coordinator. That's on the slide, or you can call me on the phone. My number is listed there. I'm more than happy to help out in any way that I can. So please don't hesitate to contact me if you think I can be of any help. So as I mentioned earlier, in Vermont, we started resuming league play toward the end of 2021. And they had a 65 and over league. And then in the fall, we started with tri-level teams. And Leslie did a great job coordinating those. We had 29 different teams, and they played at the 3-5, 4-0, and 4-5 levels. And some of the teams played in the sectional championships that were held in the middle of January, a few weeks ago. And one of the teams, the men's 4-5 teams, won the sectional championships. And they're going to be going on to the nationals. So congratulations to them. That's quite an achievement. And currently, the league that is playing right now is the 18 and over mixed league. We have 5 teams playing in that league. We have 3 at the 4-0 level, or 8-0 level, I should say, and we have 2 at the 7-0 level. And both of those levels had their first match yesterday. So they have scheduled their matches and are in the midst of playing in that league. Right now, we have the 40 and over league that are scheduling their matches. They probably will start playing sometime at the beginning of March or mid-March, depending, and that league goes through the end of June. And then next week, I'll be starting the adult 18 and over league, be asking you to submit intent forms if you're interested in playing in that league. So that's the time frame for that. Probably the matches will start either sometime in March or April and go through again the end of June. And then after we do the adult 18 and over, we'll be organizing the adult 55 and over and the mixed 55 and over. And those leagues are going to start play in May, and then go through the middle of August. So does anybody have any questions at this point?
Beth, how many teams do you have at the 40 and over level, and what range of play are you finding people are interested in?
Thanks, Joanna, for that question. For the 40 and over, right now, we have 2 teams at the 3-5 level for women and 2 teams at the 3-5 level for men. There were other captains who were interested in having a team. They submitted intent forms and were trying to organize teams. But unfortunately, when they solicited input from their players, a lot of the players were leery about playing indoors because of COVID. So right now, we only have 4 teams at the 40 and over level. I'm hoping with the good news that Omicron cases are going down, that we might have more teams at the 18 and above level. And maybe some of the teams that tried to organize at the 40 and over level will be able to have a team at the 18 and over level instead. But we'll just have to kind of wait and see. I think it's just a matter of people's comfort level at this time, playing indoors. And that's one of the great things about the 55 and over season being extended through August. If teams are concerned about playing indoors, they will have the opportunity to schedule those matches outdoors if they're able to, if they want to do so. Are there any other questions at this point? Okay, I'll move on then to the next slides, which are basically addressing what we're trying to do with the COVID concerns. Just as a reminder to all of you, all of the USTA players are required to follow any restrictions that clubs have put in place because of COVID. As many of you know, a lot of the clubs in Vermont are requiring proof of vaccination and also the wearing of masks in the common areas, but not on the courts. But what's really important from the captain's perspective is just to make sure everybody keeps informed of what regulations and rules are in place for each club, to make sure your players are informed of those, and also that you let the opposing captain know, particularly if something changes, so that everybody can be aware of what they need to do so that they can play USTA matches at the different clubs. So far, to my knowledge, we haven't had any issues of matches having to be rescheduled because of COVID, but in general, regardless of whatever the unforeseen circumstances, we ask captains to use their best efforts to field the teams on the scheduled match dates, but if for some reason they can't, to reschedule in advance of the match. We generally try to have them reschedule 72 hours if they can, but giving the other captain as much advance notice as possible if you aren't able to field one of the positions or any of the positions on your team. If you can reschedule a match, that is what we highly prefer. And the key is to get the opposing captain's agreement to the match date and where the other match is going to be played. And then it's really important, critically important, to notify the tennis club that you need to cancel the court time because you need to reschedule. Some of the clubs impose a penalty if you do not cancel the court in advance of the match. So please be sure to do that. And then if you can email me with any changes to the schedule, I can then change the information in Tennis Link to reflect the rescheduling of that match. I think all of you here know the basics about trying to make sure we minimize the spread of COVID. So maintaining the social distance on the court. Tennis is a great sport for that. There really isn't any need to get too close to your other players. You can consider changing ends on the opposite side of the net post just to make sure when you change sides of the court that you don't go too close to somebody else. And then Vermont has always had the tradition of having food after the team matches. The home team has generally brought food and drinks, and there's been an opportunity to socialize, which has been a wonderful tradition and one that I've really enjoyed. But during COVID, obviously, we aren't doing that. The clubs discourage groups of people gathering in close proximity, and we don't want to have any issues because of that. So for now, we are discontinuing that tradition of providing food and drinks and socializing after the match. At this point, does anybody have any questions before I get into new information about the 2022 championship year?
I had one quick question about, so say the Edge has a vaccination policy. So our visiting teams, will they need to fill out cards? Like, should we have time set aside for them to make sure they bring their vaccination cards or pictures and fill out the info at the club before we start play?
Yes, they will need to bring proof of vaccination. I think if they get there early, most teams try to reserve a court for a half hour for warm-ups, before the match actually starts. So if you can encourage the opposing team to get there early, and particularly if you have a warm-up court that they can use, they can go to the front desk and show their proof of vaccination. I don't know that they are required to fill out a card like the way the members are, but they will want to see that proof of vaccination before they go into the club.
Okay, thanks.
Did that answer your question, Lori?
Absolutely.
Okay. Are there any other questions at this point?
Yeah, related to this, actually, can we submit those cards ahead of time to the club?
I don't know that there's any way to do that, Radu. That's a great question. I think the best thing is to ask your players to just bring them with you. The first time that you come to the club, I know, your team is going to be coming 3 different times to the Edge. You may ask them, if they can keep track of the fact that you have shown proof of vaccination, but I will ask and see if they can do that, but I'm not sure. So I can get back to you on that before you have your first match.
Hey,
Okay,
Beth.
thank you.
Beth,
Yes.
the Edge can create a guest account for these, and so if they show it and they fill out the informational card, they can actually put that information in at the Edge. So they'll be as a guest, so they won't have to continue to do it.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, Tammy, at the Edge, they can create a guest profile, so to speak, for the USTA players that are coming from different clubs. And then once they do that, they won't have to show the proof of vaccination each time they come to play. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, because they can look up their guest profile and it'll pop right up that they already have it on file for them. So that would make it easier for people who are going to come up multiple times.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tammy, for clarifying that. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions at this point? Okay, I don't hear any other questions, so we'll move on to new information about the 2022 season. We are going to be offering the mixed 55 and over league. It will have 3 doubles like the other mixed leagues, and it will be played, the matches will start around June 1st and go through the middle of August. And hopefully we'll have some interest in this league. We're planning to send out a communication to the players who are eligible for this league to let them know about it and see what the interest level is, and also to help us hopefully form some teams. So keep that in mind. And if you would like to serve as a captain for that league, please send me an email, let me know, and I will definitely be sending out intent forms, so that we can, to a wide range of people, to see if we can get this league off the ground. We would be playing at the 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, 9-0 levels, assuming that we have enough teams to make those divisions work. The championship for that would be held in September. So that will be a little bit later than the other championships and gives us an opportunity to have the local league extend a little longer than usual, which, as I said before, could be helpful for those players that have concerns about playing indoors with COVID. Leslie started a men's single flex league that was very popular and had a lot of participation. So we plan to continue that. That will run from May 15th to September 15th. We will have it at players from different NTRP levels, 3-5, 4-0, 4-5, depending on the level of interest. But we definitely want to continue that. One important change that was made to the local league rules for this championship season is that for the adult 18 and over league, we're going to change it to have 1 singles and 3 doubles instead of the 2 singles and 3 doubles. And that's to help us out in terms of scheduling the matches. Our court space is limited. A lot of clubs may have only 2 indoor courts or 3 indoor courts. And we think that it will make it easier for the captains and for the players to get those matches in. So locally, we're going to have only 1 singles and then the 3 doubles. Now, what's important for the captains to realize is that if their team advances to districts or sectional championships, those championships will still have 2 singles courts. So for the levels that are 3-0, 3-5, 4-0, and 4-5. So for anybody who's captaining, say, a 3-5 team, you want to make sure you have enough singles players or people who are able to play singles so that if you do advance to the district or sectional championship, you will be able to field those positions. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to be captaining an 18 and over team, make sure you have enough players who can play singles if you advance to a championship. For the adult 55 and over league, we've had the adult league in Vermont for several years now. That league is very popular. It has levels at 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, and 9-0, and it plays 3 doubles matches. That championship for New England will be starting in September this year, a month later than usual. So that is allowing us to extend our season for the adult 55 and over through the middle of August. So again, very similar to the mixed 55 and over, the adult 55 and over will be able to be played, basically from June to the middle of August. So again, if you have players who are wanting to play outside instead of inside, we should be able to accommodate that this year. And then at the 40 and over adult level, there used to be a 4.5 plus level where 5.0 players could play, but USTA national rules changed in the past 2 years, and they eliminated that 4.5 level. So 5.0 players are no longer eligible to play on the 4.5 team. And then I just wanted to give you some general information about things that have happened in the past couple of years that you may not be aware of. So the USTA New England has been hosting virtual section-wide captains meetings. So all of the captains from New England are invited to participate. They had one a few months ago about the NTRP ratings. As you know, the new ratings come out in beginning of December of every year. So around that time frame, they had a meeting for captains about NTRP ratings and how to appeal and those kind of things. So you should be getting notices about those meetings and feel free to attend them. And I have attended the ones that I've known about, and I've found them to be very informative and helpful. One thing for tri-level, that season is over now, but in anticipation of starting it back up in the fall of 2022, please realize that to advance to the sectional championship, self-rated players, who start the season as a self-rated player, they must generate a computer rating when the year-end ratings are published in December to participate in those sectional championships. So what this means basically is if you have a self-rated player on your roster, you need to make sure that player has the opportunity to play at least 3 of the tri-level matches before November 1st to generate a computer rating. The computer ratings are done, usually the first or second week of November, based on match results in the first or second week of November, and then they are published, at the beginning of December. So we had a few people in Vermont who did not end up getting a computer generated rating because they did not play enough matches and they weren't able to participate in the sectional championships. So I just wanted to make you aware of that for the tri-level.
Hey, Beth.
Yes.
So this is Leslie. I don't know if Christy's still on or not too. So this is only for tri-level. So if I have a player on my mixed team that's self-rated, there won't be any issues for them going on, is there? Or is it also in these other leagues too?
Yeah, hey, Leslie, it's Christy. Yeah, that's a really good point of distinction. Tri-level is its own little monster, and it is the only league that we have that the advancing players are required to be computer rated. Part of the reason is it's considered an invitational and USTA does not own it. We just support it. And the tournament directors are the ones that make that decision. The other thing with tri-level is our section regulations are different from the national regulations in that national doesn't require any match play. So a section can just choose a team to go. We, years before I was here, Heather Anastos wanted to make it a section championship. She thought it would be much more fun that way and much more fair way to send players. So that's why we have a championship, and it's been really great. I've really enjoyed the sectional championships. So yeah, so you have to have a computer rating. The rest of the championships are exactly the same. If you are self-rated and you can still go. And that also, the 3 matches that you have to play have to be against somebody who is an established player, which means they have a computer rating. It's a little weird with the way the algorithm works. But say you self-rate for mixed and you can still get a computer rating. So if you have any players when you start with tri-level that have any questions, please feel free to send them on and we will do our best to answer them when it comes to whether or not they're going to get a computer rating.
I have a question about that, Beth.
Mhm.
It's Carol. I thought that this past fall when we played tri-level, we were playing for the year 2022. So doesn't the tri-level that we just played in the fall factor into the year-end rating for 2022, like in December 1st of 2022? Why would it be factoring into the year-end rating in 2021?
So tri-level is the only one that is a calendar year championship. And the matches up until October 31st count. So ratings, NTRP ratings and tri-level are they're just kind of separate tracks. Anything up to October 31st counted for year-end ratings for 2021. Starting November 1st to October 31st of 2022 count towards year-end rating for 2022, regardless of what season you're playing, what championship.
Okay, thank you.
I had one more question for
Yeah.
Christy. I'm just going back a couple it's like a non sequitur, but your virtual USTA section-wide captains meeting, are you the person who sends out that invitation? It doesn't come to Vermont to send that out? You send that out directly?
So we send it out to all the captains, and then I get it to the local league coordinators to also disseminate the information. And then we try to put it on all of the Facebook pages and try to get it out. The other thing is, and we call them section-wide captains meetings, I want all the captains that want to be on them and anybody who also might ever consider.
Okay.
So if players want to jump on, we're more than happy to have everybody on them. And I don't have my list yet this for this coming year, but we'll try to make sure that we get all the information out.
All right, thanks.
Okay, thanks for those questions. Good to get all that information clarified. The other point I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of, this is something that went into effect while we weren't playing during COVID restrictions. The rules were changed for the safe play rule so that a player has to be already 18 years old to register for a team. For any other age, you can turn, like for say the 40 and above league, you can turn 40 during the calendar year. So if you registered for a team in March and you were 39 and you turned 40, let's say in June, that would be fine. You could play at the 40 and over league. But for 18-year-old players, they must be 18 years old at the time they register for a team. They cannot register at age 17, even if they will be turning 18 during the season. So just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. Okay, are there any other questions before I get into some of the nuts and bolts about league play? Okay, we'll move on then. I have to say, from my perspective, having played in Vermont for 10 years or so now, I have seen mostly good examples of sportsmanship on the court, and that's one of the things I value. But we always want to emphasize how important it is for all of the USTA players and captains to show good sportsmanship on the court. It makes tennis more fun and enjoyable for everybody, and just wanted to reinforce the importance of this USTA player promise, that we all are trying to play as fairly and with as great sportsmanship as we can. The captains in particular, set the tone for their team and set the tone for the league. So we really appreciate your doing your utmost to emphasize sportsmanship and to exhibit it on the court when you're playing, especially when you're sending emails to each other, scheduling the matches. Try to be as polite and as helpful as you can to the opposing captains. You never know, what's going on in somebody's life, if they're having a particularly busy time or stressful time, and we want captaining to be as pleasant and experience as it can be. So always think about the reason we're playing in these leagues is to have fun, to enjoy the sport of tennis, and to have some good competition. One of the things we ask you to do before your matches, your home matches, is to confirm both with your club that the courts are reserved and you're good to go for the match, and then to confirm with the opposing captain that the match is going to be played on a particular date at a particular time. When you are trying to schedule your matches, it's always a great idea to get information from your players in terms of their availability. You want to make sure you have enough players on your roster available for the match dates that you're going to use for scheduling, so that you don't have to scramble at the last minute, to make sure that you can field all of the positions on your team for any particular match. Where this can get a little tricky, of course, is if you are in a location where some of your players are playing, say, on a 18 and above league and a 40 and above league, and you want to try to make sure that you don't schedule matches if your players are playing on multiple teams on the same date. When I was captaining, I would send out an email to other captains who I knew a lot of my players played on their team as well, and just let them know the dates that I had for my matches, and they would do the same for me. And we tried to avoid any overlap of those dates, just because a lot of the players do play in multiple leagues at the same time. If you have something that goes on during a match that you need to resolve with the other captain, whatever the captains agree to at the match will stand. But if you can't resolve any disagreement or any issue that comes up, then you should bring it to my attention, and then I will work with you to resolve whatever the issue is. What you want to do if you do have to reschedule, we talked about this a little bit before, is to make sure you notify the club that is hosting the match at least 24 hours in advance that the match is going to be rescheduled. We don't want any team to have to be facing having to pay fees for court time that they couldn't use because the match had to be rescheduled. In terms of collecting the match fees, what I would recommend is having whoever is acting as captain that day talk to the person at the front desk of the club and see how they want the fees to be paid. Most of the clubs prefer that the captains collect the match fees, sometimes just the home captain for both teams, just so there's one person interacting with the desk. But other clubs are more flexible, and they can accept payment from individual players on each team. So just be sure to ask. You can ask the captain, in the email when you're confirming if they know how their club likes it to be done, or you can just ask whoever is at the desk at the club how they would like it to be done. It's usually helpful to pay those fees before the match starts, rather than waiting till the end of the match. One of the things you want to think about as a captain is the prospect of advancing to the district or the sectional championships. A lot of the players enjoy USTA league play for that opportunity and that chance to advance to the championship and to play teams from other locations throughout New England. So at the beginning of the season, it's always a good idea to communicate to your players the dates of those championships, and make sure that the players try to set aside those weekends so that they can participate should the team qualify to advance to the championship. One of the things you want to be sure to do is let the opposing captain know about the surface that you're going to be playing on. Some clubs and some teams have venues where they have both indoor courts and they have outdoor courts. And if they're planning on playing the match outdoors, they would need to make sure the other team knows what surface it is, whether it's clay or hard true or something like that, or asphalt. Or if they are planning to play indoors, make sure they know whether it's indoors or outdoors. With Vermont, we have a fair amount of travel involved with USTA league play. So the rule that we follow is that when the club that the match is going to be played at requires more than 1 hour of travel to get to, the matches are generally played on the weekends. If they can be played, on a weeknight, if both captains agree to that, but you should not try to force someone a team that has to travel more than an hour away to play on a weekday. They should always be given the option of weekend dates. And then, as I said before, if you need to reschedule, let's say, you know, you can play, you're playing, let's say 55 and over adult league, and you can get 2 of your doubles matches in on the match date that was originally scheduled, but both captains agree that they will reschedule the third one. You can reschedule that third court over on another date if that's what's required to get it in. So try to be flexible if you can, working with the other captain, because our goal is to play the matches and you know, make it possible so that everybody can get as much match play in as possible. And then if you do have any changes, it's really helpful for the league coordinator if you send the match number as well as your, you know, what level you're playing at and what the league is, like whether it's adult 40 and over at the 3-5 level. Be sure to put that in there, but if you can also put the match number that you need to reschedule, that is incredibly helpful. As I think all of you know, because most of you have been captaining for quite a while, you always have to make sure that your player is registered to play on the team before they actually play a match. So check the roster when you are exchanging the lineups with the opposing captain. Make sure you check the roster and the visiting team roster and make sure everybody is registered. What we encourage you to do if the player is not registered is to have them sign up right then and there using the Tennis Link app, and they can register immediately, and that way they can actually play the match and there doesn't have to be a default or anything like that. So just be careful to double check and make sure everybody is registered before they are scheduled to play a match. All players, as you know, have to have the NTRP rating, whether it's a computer generated rating or a self rating, but they have to have an NTRP rating, and the player can only play at half a level above their NTRP rating. So for example, a 3.0 NTRP rated player could play at a 3.5 level, but not at a 4.0 level. In Vermont, we have what's called the Easy Reference Guide. It's a back-to-back list of the most important rules, including how to handle timed match when the time gets to the point where there's only 15 minutes left in the match. So every home team captain is responsible for making sure that each court has a copy of the Easy Reference Guide. So make sure that you give that to your players, and captains usually give the players a copy of the Easy Reference Guide. At the same time, they give them a can of tennis balls, because in Vermont, the home team is responsible for providing the tennis balls as well. And then all of the players should know at the start of the match whether the time restrictions are in place. So in other words, if your home court has a 2-hour time limit for the match, the home captain should make sure everybody is aware of that at the beginning. So one of the things I used to do when I was captaining is right before everybody went out on the court is make sure I told everybody that there was a time restriction in place if it was a 2-hour time match. And they also need to know, how is that determined? You know, what do we use in terms of the clock for measuring when the time is up? And so the home captain should let everybody know what that is. Usually it's a clock that is visible from all of the tennis courts, like on the wall of the facility there, so that everybody is working off the same time. In order to advance to the championship, a player needs to play in at least 2 matches, and 1 default can count toward that 2 matches. And if they are fortunate enough to advance to national play, they would have to play in at least 3 matches during that season, but defaults do not count toward those 3 matches. And then, as most of you know, after the match is over, one of the captains needs to enter the score within Tennis Link, and we ask you to do that within 48 hours after the match is done. So it can be either the home or away captain. It doesn't have to be the home captain who enters the score first. Whichever captain gets to it first, that's perfectly fine. And then the other captain, if they are doing it second, should just check the scores that have been entered to confirm that they are correct. And if there is an error that has been made, notify the league coordinator about that, and that can be corrected if need be. Are there any questions at this point about the league rules and how matches generally operate?
I had one question, if there's new guidelines each year, or are they the same ones that we've had for a couple of years now? The ERGs for the
Yeah,
court.
the Easy Reference Guide can be changed. And one of the things that we would do in this captain's meeting is make sure that we would notify the captains about any substantive change or major change. From 2020, which is the last time we had the Easy Reference Guide, to 2022, I do not think there were any substantive changes that were made. I don't think there's anything new that you have to be concerned about in terms of the tie-break procedure is the same as it has been, and the other rules are the same as well.
Then we could just download them from the website.
Yes, I'm going to show you where you can download them. And then before the league starts, I always attach a copy of them, before you actually start playing your matches, for the captain and the co-captain, so that they'll have a copy of it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Okay, I just wanted to take a moment to tell you some of my thinking about opportunities to grow league tennis here in Vermont. And I would welcome any input that any of you have, either during this meeting, or you can anytime send me an email or give me a call and let me know what you're thinking. But one of the goals that we have for this year is to try to grow and develop 2.5 and or 3.0 leagues. We have some newer players that started playing during the COVID pandemic, and some of those players are eager and interested in getting into league play. So Chaska Richardson, who is one of our captains at the 3.5 level, she has been working with me to try to get a list of names together of some of those folks who may be interested in league play. So we're reaching out to them, and we're going to try to have a few sessions where we do orientation to USTA league play, where we will work with them in terms of how do we do our warm-ups, how do we do a tiebreaker, how do we do a timed match, how do, we'll go over the easy reference guide with them and the basic rules. And then we are also, Leslie has volunteered to run some captains orientation meetings, if anybody, for new captains, to try to develop some new captains if we have any folks who are interested in doing that. So that's one of our goals, is to try to start introducing people to league play who haven't necessarily played in USTA before. The other possibility that I see is maybe the opportunity to add what we call flex leagues during the summer. The flex leagues are non-advancing leagues, so they do not go to district or sectional championships, but they can give people an opportunity to play with some other players that they don't normally play with, either by doing a combo league where you combine 2 levels that are next to each other, like a 3.0 and a 3.5 would play together for a 6.5 combo league. Or we could do maybe a mixed doubles flex league where you would just have one doubles match, and you could have smaller teams, and It gives you the ability to play some tennis in an organized manner, but not have to have as many courts being played at the same time as you would on your typical 18 and over or 40 and over team match. So I'm open to suggestions. If any of you have any ideas of things that you think might work well in Vermont, I'm thinking if we can do it during the summer, that will give people the opportunity to play outdoors as well as indoors, and give them a lot more flexibility in terms of scheduling matches and playing matches. So any ideas that you may have, I'm happy to consider and see if we can try some things that may work out well in our area. So does anybody have any questions at this point? Okay. Before we have Christy talk about championships, what I'd like to do now is share with you a couple of websites just to make sure you know where you can get some of the information that is useful as a captain. So the first website I want to share with you is actually the USTA New England website. This is under the league play, and this is what it looks like. And when you scroll down, they have the New England USTA league regulations. These are for the section, and the Vermont local regulations kind of must comply with those and are a little different from that, but you know, in terms of being more specific to Vermont. But that's where that is. The one thing that's very helpful to know about is the championship calendar. So it's usually on one page like this. You may have seen these before for other years, but it goes through all of the different leagues that have district or sectional championships. It tells you when the local league must end, when the championship starts, when it ends, and then the different levels and where the championship is going to be located. So you can access this championship calendar at this on this website right there. And then there are league resources that are available to everybody. And one of the things you may not know about is this new captain and player guide. It was issued in 2015, and it has, you know, a brief summary of captain responsibilities, player responsibilities, and especially if you have new players, it gives them an idea of how to sign up for USTA membership, and then how to self-rate so that they can get their NTRP rating. And then it explains the different NTRP levels, which can be kind of confusing to someone who's new to tennis. So some of the link, you know, some of the way the links are shown here have been changed a little bit since 2015, but it's still a useful starting point for anybody who's new to USTA tennis. And there's also information, I won't click on all of these, but NTRP ratings and appeals, there's information about that. The tri-level regulations are on here. And then the national regulations are also on here. Another resource that's very useful is the Vermont USTA website. Joanna's gonna talk to you about some of the things on here, but what I want to focus on here first is the USTA League aspect of it. Under the Vermont USTA League part, we have, they're being updated now, so they're not currently on here, but we will have the USTA League regulations for 2022, and the information sheet will be updated, and the league timelines. The match locations tell you all the different clubs that have hosted matches for USTA Vermont tennis, and their addresses and phone numbers. So that may be helpful to you. And the easy reference guide is on here. So this is where you would find it. As I said, I will email it to the captains before they start playing their matches, after they send me the schedule, and the schedule has been uploaded into Tennis Link. That's when I'll send you the easy reference guide. But I think most of you are very familiar with it, but it's 2 pages and this is what needs to be on the court, on each court for the home matches. And then the other thing I wanted to share with you, don't know how many of you are members of this or have joined it, but USTA League has a Facebook page, and it looks like this. So I have a couple entries about the team that qualified for nationals by winning the sectional championship. And then we have a post here about our Tennis in the Parks program. USTA is looking for tennis pros or anyone else who's interested to work with kids and adults in tennis. Professional certification is not required. In Vermont, they're specifically looking for coaches in Winooski and Randolph. So if you know of anyone who might be interested in that, please let them know about this opportunity. And the application is on this SurveyMonkey link. So this is USTA League Tennis Facebook page. So does anybody have any questions before we turn it over to Christy to talk about championships? Okay, it sounds like we don't. So Christy, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you so much. Hi, everybody, and welcome. And definitely thank you guys for captaining and being on. And, you know, with the championships too, if you have questions during this presentation, if you have questions at any other time about championships, please feel free to email or call me as well. I've been through my first championship season as the director of USTA Leagues. It was a really great season. We had great participation. I was very excited because coming back from COVID, we had skipped a year, and it was really good to see everybody back out there. But I just wanted to kind of emphasize a few things that I did notice, and just make sure that everybody's aware going ahead of time. Last year, the section league committee did a lot of, they gave a lot of leeway for COVID, and for if you defaulted or if you pulled your team out after the schedule had been produced, there were no penalties. The state league committees didn't sanction captains, which can happen. This year, they're going to be more strict and go very strictly according to the letter of the law, so to speak, with the championship regulations. So just know way ahead of time, and we always know that emergencies can happen, but know that you've got enough players to send to your championships. If it's, you know, adult 18 and over, and the minimum is 8 players, please have more than 8 players in case somebody gets hurt or somebody has an emergency and can't come. We're very, very strict on the timeline because we want to make sure that the championship runs properly, and we have certain time limits with our clubs that we use. So when we say we want you there 30 minutes early with the lineup turned in and ready to play, if that doesn't happen and we start the clock, it doesn't matter if somebody's caught in traffic. It doesn't matter if they overslept. We start the clock and defaults happen. Because we play round robins, if you default in the middle of a championship, that say you default line 3 doubles, that line 3 doubles defaults for everything you have played already and everything you will play on that round robin. So it pulls you out. It's a little bit frustrating not knowing that ahead of time, but it gives everybody the same mathematical advantage of the 6-0-6-0 win if somebody defaults a line in the middle of championships. If you have any questions about that too, please let me know. We're technically a no default championship, which is what it's called. We have a lot of clubs that have a second story viewing. Any communication with the second story windows is considered coaching. Anybody who needs a water, if they break a string in their racket, your players need to come off the court to the tournament desk and not talk to anybody. if they signal to the windows, we can't tell the difference if they're saying, hey, what should I do to play against this person? Or, hey, I need a water or what. So just let your players know that we're really strict about coaching violations with any communications with anybody. And then I wanted to go over how we're going to determine wild cards this year. I like to have 4-team flights. It makes the round robin really nice. It makes everybody get to play a lot. We want you guys to be able to come and play quite a bit when you come to championships, and 3-team flights are really difficult because you play twice and you want to get everybody, playing and qualified. So we're going to pull wild cards across the section from the percentage of games won. It is empirical. It is on Tennis Link. You can go on and you can see when you look at your standings, the highest percentage of games won is on the far right. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at that across the board when we need additional teams to come in. I will, as we get closer, the leagues don't have to be finished up until 14 days before the championship, which is why the calendar can't go out any closer to the championship. But I'll be working with Beth and the local league coordinators about wild card information. If we have a team that very possibly could be a wild card in your area, we want to make sure we get as many people playing as possible. And then the last one I had was the calendar, the championship calendar for the adult 40 and over section championships can be very misleading or confusing when you read it across. The only playoffs that we'll have with the adult 40 and over are when we have so many teams that we have to kick them to a different weekend. So it says in there 3-0 men, 3-5 women, and I think 4-0 women. But if we don't have enough teams and we can finish them in one weekend to get them to go to nationals, we're going to do that. For instance, this past year, we only had the 3-5 women that had to play on a separate weekend. In 2019, I think there were 2 men's levels and 2 women's levels that had to play on a separate weekend. We won't know that until 2 weeks before the championship. So I apologize for that in advance, that it's going to be kind of a little bit hard, but just know that 3-0 men, 3-0 women, 3-5 women, and 4-0 men typically are our biggest, most populated leagues, and those are probably the ones that would go to a second weekend if we needed to. And if you have any questions about that as you kind of progress on, we can work with Beth and we can get as much advanced information to everybody as possible. So that's kind of my information about championships. I'm excited for the season. We will have a virtual captains meeting the week before every championship, so that if we have any new captains or any returning captains, anybody that just wants a little bit of information about the championship before it happens, we'll do an hour-long call, pretty laid back, and I'll make sure that those dates get out to everybody as well. So that's about it for me, Beth.
Okay, does anybody have any questions before we move on? Okay, so it seems not. So we'll now move on to Joanna Beal, who's the president of USTA Vermont, Inc.
Hi, I know most of you. I've either seen you on the court or seen you in the clubs. So welcome. I also want to say thanks and good luck to Leslie for being our local league coordinator for so long, and to welcome Beth and Tammy. What I realized putting together this presentation is the 3 of us are essentially new. I came on last year as president of USTA Vermont, and it was, for me, a year of learning. There was no state league play, very little, so I didn't get to interact in that way. But I had to become familiar with the particular challenges and benefits of being a tennis player in Vermont. One of the things that's important to understand about USTA Vermont is that we are one of 7 sections and state associations in the New England region, and that includes Eastern Massachusetts, Western Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine, and New Hampshire. So when you go out and represent New England at nationals, those are the areas that you stand for. That's who you're playing for. We have a shared mission for the state. Vermont shares with USTA New England, which is to promote and grow the game of tennis throughout our region. And we want to be able to offer quality recreational and competitive programs for people of all ages and abilities, with the goal of being safe and inclusive. One of the things that happened during our COVID time is that people, since in Vermont, they couldn't play competitive tennis in connecting with other clubs, people began to play tennis on community courts a lot. Even not only in Vermont, but across the country. And one of our goals as a board is to be able to offer, not only to you guys, you're very important, but also to new community players, the opportunity to learn, to get introduced, to learn, to pursue, as Beth described before, these new players who want to begin to play competitively, to advance to competitive play. So our goal as an organization is to meet the needs of everybody who wants to play tennis in Vermont. Let me just give you a little description of the board, which is pretty much, there are some recurring members, but a lot of us are new. We're trying to grow and represent all parts of the state, which has been a challenge. I mean, you guys know this is better than I do at this point. We are geographically divided. We are also, we have challenges of geography and climate. We can't play as much and as long outdoors as, let's say, the southern region or California. We are limited, certainly. I think once end of October rolls around, we're indoors and we're there until they're no longer soggy in, I don't know, hopefully May. So on our board, we have some officers. I'm president. We don't have a vice president. So those of you who want to find a way to be helpful, think about that. Our treasurer is Brett Finley. Our secretary is Donna Ellison. Tammy Azer, who is your new state league coordinator, now sits on our board and is our diversity ally, of finding ways, again, to keep us thoughtful about everybody's needs and abilities in the world of tennis in Vermont. Our immediate past president is Kathy Erickson, who many of you will have played against and know well. And our members are Jeannie Hulson, Errol Natras, Rob Parker, Laura Laramie, Sandy Foster, Catherine Hagestad, Scott Janich, and Ramsey Hone. We also work as a board with our tennis service representative, Karen Diedrichsen, who brings ideas and products related to youth play and new leagues and tournaments to our thinking about growing the game. And we meet regularly with Beth to find out what's happening in the world of league play. The way that would be helpful for you to think about the board is that we are always looking for ways to help people play, learn, compete, and make lasting relationships around tennis. We're your advocates. We want to make the sport more accessible, affordable, rewarding to players and organizations. And this includes teams and their captains, community partners like parks and recreation programs, advancing and non-advancing junior players, and new players who want to get into the game. We understand that both competitive and recreational play in Vermont is challenged by our geography and climate, but we're always seeking new ways to make tennis available to everyone. So the first and most important way that I think we can do this is to be a source of communication for you. Beth just took you into the website, which is, and Christy knows this, any of us who are associated with USTA New England, our USTA New England website, especially within states like Vermont, is a little bit challenging. And we updated it to some degree last spring. Kathy Erickson and I did, but we certainly have work to do. We also put together a newsletter. It didn't come out, I think it came out once last year. And unfortunately, the only way you can see the newsletter is to opt in. And we have, once Beth can get there, once she can find it, we have a way for you to opt in on the website. We have a little button for you to push. One of the things that we also do, okay, let's see. You've seen the USTA League button. Here's our newsletter page where we've actually archived newsletters. If you scroll down a little bit, we've archived newsletters from 2020 and 2019. Actually, I'm the person who's been putting those newsletters together since 2019. So they're there. You can see a history of what we do, what we've tried to communicate. But I encourage you to sign up on the website. Let's go down to, there's a tab, Beth. If you go back to the Vermont page, there's a tab bottom right that says sign up. Yeah, if you can scroll over to the right. I don't know that you can.
It's showing on my screen. I don't know. I guess it's not showing on yours. But.
Hold on one second. Let me okay.
I can see the button that says sign up for the newsletter, and it's also in the wording on
Yes.
the when you click on that newsletter tab.
Yeah.
It also is in the wording there where you can sign up, like the second
Right.
little sentence down there. Yep.
Right. So I encourage everyone to do it. Our goal is to get this web page a little bit more current and communicate with you here. You can also, if you go to, I think, About Us, the About Us tab.
There's Contact Us, Newsletter, Junior Tennis, and then About USTA Vermont.
Okay, if you go, okay, so I guess it's Contact Us. Yeah, so you've got some board information here. My email address there, and I encourage everybody and anybody, especially with ideas about growing the game in underserved areas, you're welcome to email me at any point and I will respond. I will say this, one of the things that we're doing this year to try to be a little bit more organized about how we grow the game is that we've created 3 primary committees. One is to manage our money well. We have a budget and finance committee, and we're lucky to be well funded, currently very well funded. We didn't spend money during 2020, very much during 2019 or 2020. So we're looking forward to supporting through grants and other program support. We have a communications committee again, run by Kathy Erickson, where we hope to continue to update and bring current this web page and to produce newsletters to get not only you guys aware, but people who are new to the game, give them a hub of or an umbrella of information about tennis throughout our state. And we also have a community tennis and youth committee where we're trying to look for ways to support recreational play on parks and recs courts, tennis in the parks, and youth play. Again, kids who play tennis in Vermont are as challenged as adults because you have to travel to get to find your opponents. So we're trying to find other ways to support our youth players. I'm glad to take any questions. Again, you're all always welcome to reach out to me directly at that ustavtassociation.gmail.com. So there you go.
Thank you, Joanna. Not hearing any questions, we'll move on to Tammy Azer, who's the chairperson of the State League Committee.
Hey, everybody. Happy to be the new State League Committee Chair. Been on the USTA board for a few years, and a lot of my energy has been spent on juniors and junior competitive play. And it was a great opportunity for me to shift gears into the adult world, and excited in this role to hopefully encourage, create, and new ways of getting adult Vermonters to compete and to improve on anything. So first order of business was creating a committee. We had one person from the original State League Committee stay on board. So worked really hard to statewide applications to find a nice, diverse committee. But I think we found that we've got a lot of new people, which I think is great. A lot of fresh ideas, and people who haven't been in it that much, so they ask questions and think outside the box. And so it's been really good to meet with the State League Committee, and hopefully we can make some improvements and hear from you guys on what you really want out of competitive tennis in Vermont and how we can make it better. So our committee members are Edie Granning, Jerry Knickerbocker, Heidi Willoughby, Tom Twitchell, Will Dodge, and Olivia Taylor. So it's people who have been captains before, people who compete, maybe haven't been captains, new people to the area, and a couple of new people to even playing competitive tennis. So I think we've created a committee that's going to come at it with all aspects and help us, really grow and achieve some of the goals we have. Let's see. So our goal is in our initiative in this to help grow league participation. Excited for Chaska's, to help out with, getting new players involved, and we will have committee members that are also helping out with that program and new programs for the summer. But our biggest things are increasing communication to all existing players and captains. We're also hoping to, get a hold of clubs and see, that making sure that clubs are offering courts or if there's other clubs that aren't participating in USTA tennis, how can we get them on board so that it grows the competition throughout the state. So really that's it. And our other main goal is to create a grievance committee for league play. So if there are any issues that come up during the season, that's one of our other goals for our committee. So anyway, but specifically for this year, 2022, we have three main goals. One is to capture all the new players that are new to tennis that due to COVID, there are a lot more players that are new to the game that are playing tennis. So we're trying to figure out a way to communicate with them, get them on board, get them into programs that will help them learn to eventually become and play competitive tennis in Vermont. So that's one of our main initiatives this year. Other is looking for ways to increase participation in our USTA leagues, in our competitive things. We're looking at sending out surveys to players and captains on really your suggestions for how things could be better, how, you know, we would get more participation, what you like, what you don't like, things like that. So we really want to get a lot more feedback from captains and players so we can go from there in revising how we do things or adding new things, so that we can change leagues, make real positive changes to any of our leagues. Let's see what else. Yeah, and then just increasing our communication, our social media presence. That way that people that, you know, maybe are players but don't know how to get on a USTA team, how to contact people, that we can get them to our local league coordinator, and, you know, really just open up the lines of communication a little bit better so that people know, you know, there is a place for them, and it could be as easy as clicking a button to get information. I want to absolutely thank Leslie for helping out last year when I first took on the role, because honestly, I had no idea what I was doing, and she really helped me through guiding everything. And thanks to Christy too for, but we're starting to find our own in the State League Committee, and we've got a lot of good things on the docket to work towards. And I want to, Beth and I have met a couple of times already. So I think just looking forward to working with Beth. She's doing a fantastic job so far, and just looking forward to working together to create any positive changes or revisions and in league play in Vermont. So looking forward to it.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Tammy. Does anybody have any questions for Tammy? Okay, it doesn't sound like that. Does anybody have any questions in general? Anything else you want to ask before we call it quits for the day? Okay, it seems like there aren't any other questions. So I just really want to thank you again for participating in today's meeting and for all the hard work that you do throughout the season. And again, if there's anything I can do to be of assistance, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm more than happy to try to do whatever I can to help out. Thank you very much. And let's see if we can get some teams going for the 18 and above adults and the 55 and over, both mixed and adults. Looking forward to some good competition. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Beth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.